It's time for Political Buzz, the television forum to discuss politics and issues of interest for all of Western New York. Now, from the WBBZ television studio at the Eastern Hills Mall, this is Political Buzz.
Hey everybody, John DeShula with you here at the Eastern Hills Mall studio, WBBZ-TV. We have a small but mighty crowd who joined us for this special edition of Political Buzz. We're happy to have them here. And, you know, as we keep growing here at WBBZ-TV, we want you to be a part of our studio audience. Reservations are available online on our website at WBBZ.TV. And we're going to hear from our studio audience just a little bit, because the one thing in politics and in life that you can certainly count on, it's death and taxes. I found this picture on the internet because if this is what you look like when it's tax season, we have the folks who are here to help you so that you don't need to be stressed out. It is the team from EG Tax. They are the professionals in Western New York who really put together not only tax preparation, but they're able to sort through even some of the political mess that's happened in Washington and some of the things that have happened to change the tax laws. They understand all of that, and they're here to help you. So we have a great big panel, and I want to introduce them to you. So let's take a look. There's Chris Fabian. Chris, thanks for joining us here on the show. Tiffany Fabian.
Hey, John.
I guess you're husband and wife, but that's
Yes.
good. And Esther Golias, who, of course, is the queen of all things tax, and Steve Jacobson from EG Tax.
Hey, John, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Now, you know, Esther, this is a family affair, isn't it? Because
Well, that's why when we say come join our family, it is our family. Literally, this is my daughter, my son-in-law, and my adopted son, Steve.
that's funny.
So, I mean, when you have a company that's made up of people that care about each other, you know, if it's really great if you could have that family environment that you would feel like everybody is as close as your family, and that's why we came up with that slogan, come join our family, because that's how we feel about
And I sort
people's
of
taxes.
grew up around taxes,
That's
too.
true. When she was a baby, she was
all the time.
and my grandchildren used to walk around with their walkers. I mean, that's, you know, it's a wonderful thing.
Well, and they grew up because, Esther, you've been on television in Western New York for 30-plus years.
Now, John, I'm way too young to have been in TV for 30-plus years, but you're right, yes.
And we go back some of those 30-plus years.
We do, yes.
And now on the radio as well. So, you know, you've really been established as the leader in Western New York in taxes. But explain the concept of EG Tax, not only a family business, but it's tax preparation, but you're there through every step of the way with an individual that needs tax consultation.
Right. You know, the whole thing is we try to do a tax return like it's our own tax return. Every single return that comes in, we try not to make it like a retail thing where you did it, they're gone. But rather, when we do a tax return, we try to think that, well, they now became part of the family, so if they ever need anything, we're here. And so that's part of our thrust with Obamacare. When Obamacare became part of the scene, we thought, gee, there are thousands and thousands of people that don't understand the health insurance aspect. And of course, in the tax law, next year we're going to be administrating Obamacare, and so that was part of our thrust, is that we thought it was really important, because I don't want to be somebody, and I'm sure they don't, next year to say to somebody, well, you have a $2,000 penalty. We wanted to get people to understand what's happening, how it can happen, what's it going to cost, and what the consequences are if they chose to do the penalty, because that's what a family does.
Well, I know that in the television commercials that we've seen, you know, over the years, Chris and Steve, you know, they had more of a humorous tone with you in them, and now it's taking a much more serious approach because of Obamacare. And I know we have a question from a viewer who wrote in, and we'll show the question. I don't understand this Obamacare situation. I want to get the insurance, but I don't know the cost. Can you tell me how much a plan costs? I am single, so I only need insurance for myself. I get $15,000 from Social Security and $5,000 from a small pension. I am too young for Medicare. That was from Don from Akron. I guess that echoes the sentiment that you just said. Anybody on the panel, you can take that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is he's too young for Medicare, but his income is still a little bit too high for Medicaid. There's a lot of people who will qualify for Medicaid who doesn't realize that it's based upon your family size. Up to 133% of the poverty level get Medicaid, get free health insurance. So, but for him, he wouldn't qualify for Medicaid, but he would still get a subsidy to help pay for his health insurance. So depending on his level, if he wants bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, he may end up paying anywhere from $70 a month up to $350 a month Depend.
And if you click on our website, you can click on the maze, and it'll actually take you to a spreadsheet, and it'll show you the prices and the different options, and it'll show you if he qualifies for the Medicaid. And so it's a great feature, right, Steve?
Absolutely. And I will say one other thing to add on to Chris, too. When it comes to this Affordable Health Care Act, it is a maze and a jungle, because what happens is there's so much confusion as to which income do I include, which don't I. In this gentleman's case, believe it or not, even though he doesn't pay any taxes for Social Security and it's not taxable, he does have to include it as income for Obamacare, along with the $5,000 pension. So when he goes to calculate out his taxable income, which is what the spreadsheet says, he actually has to put down the whole 20.
Well, we only have literally about 30 seconds left in this segment. I guess I can say that with the fiscal cliff and some of the other financial implications that have happened in terms of the government, the tax laws have changed coming up this year, and you folks are vested in learning that.
And then just shortly, if you choose not to get insurance, then you're really playing Russian roulette. So if you can afford it, if you get a subsidy, it may be cheap, and the old laws are passed away. So even though you didn't qualify for Medicaid before, you may now.
More from the EG Tax team. We're going to hear from our studio audience and more questions from you, our hometown viewers, on your hometown television station when we come back right after this. It is that time of the year, tax season in the IRS. We have Dean from Depew. You have a great question because it ties into the last segment about Obamacare for Esther and the EG Tax team.
Well, you guys helped me sign up for Obamacare, and I'm on SST. My wife is signed up for it, but now she's lost her job, and she's not planning on getting another job, and she has about 1.5 years to wait till retirement. Would it be more advantageous to sign up for Medicare now that our income is so low, and forget about Obamacare?
Oh, but you see, part of Obamacare is the fact that you and your wife may qualify for Medicaid.
Yes.
So that is actually part of the Affordable Care Act. So obviously, if your income is that low and you do qualify, you and your wife qualify for Medicaid, then that would be the best because you'd be 100% subsidized.
Can I ask you a question? Did you guys fill out the spreadsheet and fill out all the paperwork on the New York State Gov site?
No, you guys filled it out.
We did.
We did it,
Because
yeah.
there's
I had
a
a hard
place on it
time.
when there's life changes, you can
Yes.
enter that.
Right.
So you would want to go back in and enter the life
Okay.
change that has happened.
Right. So come back in.
You guys did a
We'll
fantastic job.
redo it for you. But
Yep, there it is.
obviously, if she's not working, and that was part of what we had originally projected,
Right.
then now that she isn't working, you may qualify for Medicaid, which would be 100% financed, and that
Right.
would be a real blessing for you.
You know, you bring up an interesting point, Dean. The website is well publicized that it has had issues getting launched.
Right.
And, you know, and you made a comment that it was, you know, a challenge, so that was a help to go to EG Tax. But did that intimidate you, Dean, the whole concept of going on the website?
Well, it's just the New York State website is better than the federal one.
That is
but
true.
I couldn't get past just the first few things on it, and I just got lost.
Yeah.
And Steve helped me just like a breeze through it, and he went right through it. I can't
And that's
imagine
why
how
we
he did it,
adopted
but
Steve.
He's a genius.
You know, but I think
Thanks, Dean.
I think Dean brings up a point that many Americans, many Western New Yorkers, many people in general have with this law. It's so complicated. I mean, heck, they didn't even read it over before they passed
Right,
it.
that's
So
true.
we're learning more and more about this thing every day,
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like.
Yeah. When I learned about the life changes, we went to a training yesterday, and one of the supervisors taught me about that on the website. Once you do it and there's changes in your income,
You can change
you
it.
can
Right.
change
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So I learned something new every day.
And so basically, that's really what happened in your situation. When you filled out the application, you were working. Now you aren't working, and so you get to change that. And so you'd probably be eligible for Medicaid, which would be great.
Come
Or,
back in and see me, Dean.
Yeah.
I'll get you squared away.
or even more of a subsidy.
Right, on your private health
Absolutely.
insurance, right.
Right, we have some more viewer questions submitted. Here's the second one. Every year I have to wait to get my tax stuff in. By the time I get everything my ex-husband claims the kids. It's not fair. They live with me. Is there anything I can do? And that's why I teased that we're all in the family, because there are a lot of family issues that can complicate the whole tax structure.
Well, you know, with e-filing, electronic filing, the first one who files the return and claims the exemptions, or the first one with the Social Security number into the Internal Revenue Service, they kind of like close it off for anybody else. So in this situation, since her ex-husband is claiming the children, and even though he wasn't entitled to it, basically it closes off that taxpayer's ability to claim the children electronically. But that doesn't preclude her from filing the return as a paper return. The old-fashioned way, paper return, mail it in, so then they have two returns, the one that was done electronically and the paper return. And so what they do is they're going to audit both sets of parents, make a determination, and if in fact those kids are living with the mother, the custodial parent, then the non-custodial parent will lose unless there's something in a divorce decree or stipulation that says he can claim them, and then she'll get her money and he'll get a slap on the hand, and hopefully he won't do it anymore.
Well, and Chris, maybe, you know, I mean, I'm a divorced dad, and, you know, you have to communicate with your ex-wife about the deductions. Whose year it is.
Sometimes
You just
all
have
the
to, you have to have a
communication in the world
connection, I would
doesn't
think.
matter.
Now, I guess that's easier said than done.
Yep.
Some situations are not as amicable as mine, but I got to believe in a family situation, and even when you're doing taxes for senior parents or others, you really have to be on the same page.
You do. When there's two different parties involved, two different tax returns, they do have to talk. Unfortunately, half the people do talk, and the other half is, let's fight, let's see who gets it first, and we'll use the children as leverage.
As a wedge.
Yeah,
Right.
it's unfortunate. All right, we have another question here. My cheaters, and I'll read this one. This is, my dad put the house, I'm sorry. This is, yeah, I'm right. My dad put the house, I'm sorry, I have it right here. I am 50 and I haven't filed in about 5 years. My only income is a small disability pension in the amount of $8,000, and I get Social Security of $12,000. Will they come after me? So once again,
actually,
speaking to the seniors.
In this situation, this is one of those loopholes in the law. When you're under normal retirement age and you're retired on a disability pension, that disability pension can be deemed as wages. And so this person, because he's between the ages of 25 and 65, qualifies for an earned income credit.
on the federal
So
and
it's
the
not that
state.
they're going to come after him. They want to give him money. And the only way he's going to get the money is to file the return.
And I'd like to point out, too, they're not going to go banging down his door
That's true.
to let him know that the money's out there either. You have to be the one to come forward and claim that refund.
All right, another question here. This is Lynn from East Aurora. Says, hi, Esther. I received a 1099-C for some cancellation of debt, and I had a short sale of my personal home. Do I have to pay taxes on this debt cancellation?
The good news is for personal residence, you don't have to put it on line 21. Line 21 is where you would normally put cancellation of debt income, but because it's a personal residence, you would do a 982 and exclude that sale of personal residence, cancellation of debt. However, that loophole is going away, right, Chris?
Yep, that ended December 31st, 2013. So from now on, if you lose your home or sell it short, that will be income. Potentially it can be
unless
income.
Congress votes it back in.
Right, that's true. Or if you were insolvent.
Yep.
If you had an insolvency, that's another exclusion to cancellation of debt income. So cancellation of debt income is taxable unless you can find a loophole. And so that loophole is found online on the Form 982. And so if anybody has cancellation of debt, when you talk to us, we'll try to help you through that.
It seems as if, how often do you have to read into the tax laws to learn it? It seems like it's a 24/7 proposition considering how things
we do.
constantly change.
We sit around together and try to chew up weird situations in the tax law.
You think that you've heard it all, and then another interesting scenario comes around, and then I usually go to Chris, and Chris is during tax season, another question.
All I could say is if you think the debates on AM talk shows are very scary and intimidating, you should sit around for one of our tax discussions sometime.
I bet. Well, and I read in an AP article that some of the software that's out there has some of these tax laws embedded, I guess, in the software to help calculate.
Right.
But because it changes so much, I got to believe that software could
Well,
if it's not
just like the
updated, it becomes
cancellation of
outdated.
Well, one of the, software is great. We use software, but the thing is you have to know how to use the software. If you're doing it yourself and you don't know tax law, oh, well, the computer asked this, the computer asked
gonna
this,
put that
I'm filling it
cancellation
in.
of that on line
Oh,
21.
well, this must be my refund. I'm getting $20,000 back. But wait, I only paid in $3,000. How can that be right? Oh, but it's telling me, so I'm going to hit submit. I mean, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get a garbage return.
And last I checked, too, the IRS doesn't waive those interest and penalties because the computer gave it to you. So, what I always tell anybody that's out there, because they always say, gee, do I really need to go see somebody like you? And I say, listen, if you have anything more than a W-2, call somebody. Get help, because it is more complicated than you can ever think.
And sometimes, even if you have a W-2, you'll qualify for earned income credit. I did a return today. He had a W-2 in Social Security, and he's a single guy, and he got earned income credit. So you just want...
Well, and like the last question that you just read, this guy thought he was in trouble for not filing. In essence, he wasn't in trouble. They have money for him. But it's just one of those complexities in the tax law.
Well, and I can tell you, I'll just share a personal story because that's what I do. When I got divorced, very seriously, I just, it was like your life checked out for a little bit, and it changes your life a little bit. You react to it in different ways. And I didn't file my taxes for a couple of years, and it was not a good thing, obviously, because they do come knocking at your door. And and I will say in full disclosure, Chris, you helped me out greatly to sort through that mess and move forward. So, I can see where people will step up and say, "Wow, you really have to." You can't ignore the fact that you have to pay your taxes.
Right.
And if you have a question about whatever it is, whatever deduction or what you have coming or going, you need to sort that out.
Right, because they know what income you have. And they can figure out, and they always figure out worst case scenario. If they know you owe money, they're going to come knocking at the door. If they know they owe you money, they'll never send you a letter.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I have one more.
And one other thing,
Yes.
if I could, John. The Internal Revenue Service has changed their stance this year. It used to be that you could call and ask them questions. Now, if you call and ask them a question, they say effective January the 1st, 2013, we've changed the legislation and we are no longer assisting you in this matter, and they hang up the phone.
And they say go to the website.
Go to your website, go to the publications, go to your accountant. And so if people have questions, you can call EG Tax. We will answer them.
All right, and we're going to have that website up in just a little bit. We're going to have more questions from our audience and more from our viewers at home when Political Buzz continues. There's the information, egtax.com. There's an 800 number, 800-TAX-9998. That's the information that you need to know. And we're going to have some information on our website, too, at WBBZ-TV. This is Joe from Orchard Park. And what's your question?
I'm 19. Last year was the first year I filed my tax returns. I went to UB for a free tax service, and they pretty much screwed up my tax return awfully, got audited. So I was wondering, how would you do it differently? What would be the different options, and would I expect to be audited like I was last year?
No, you should not expect to be audited. I'm assuming that you had a fairly straightforward, you had a W-2, right, Joe?
They did. Not sure how they did it, because I got audited.
Well,
So-
the most important thing is we have to ask the right questions. I'm sorry.
Right, but I mean, the whole thing is, anybody that files a tax return, the IRS can question, okay? And so the important thing is when you have somebody that has prepared it for you, you have somebody to go to, and it's their job to straighten it out. So when you get somebody that's a volunteer, there's really nobody that you can go back to. So hopefully this year, if you need any help, you'd come to see us. We'll make sure our work is guaranteed. So if we make a mistake, we do the correspondence, we take care of everything, and we pay any penalties. So hopefully you'd never have to worry about getting audited again, especially with a simple return like yours.
And I'm going to say also, Joe, don't hesitate to stop by and bring us the information from that audit. Because
That's true.
we'll help you, because God forbid, they might have been wrong. You don't
That's
even
right.
know.
There
So-
are, and Steve brings up a great point. There are dozens and dozens, I would say over 50% of the returns, the letters we get from the Internal Revenue are wrong. They send out the bill assuming you're wrong, and it's up to you to prove what's on the tax
hope
return.
you pay it.
So if you have that tax return and the bill, bring it in, we'll help you at no
So
charge.
I won't have to run around and try and find everything myself, going back asking you. You'll actually have it on file?
We'll
as
help
opposed to UB where I had to
We will
talk
help
to
you.
20 different people.
Isn't that intimidating, though, when you hear the word audit? You feel like you've done something completely wrong, and it's very intimidating.
My parents have never been audited. 1 year I got audited, so
I couldn't imagine at age 19 getting audited.
I don't know.
For sure.
You know,
That's for
it's
sure.
like getting jury duty at that age, too.
But that just kind of, because I know that he was saying he's from UB, and that happens a lot. The students from UB many times think that it's the best thing for them to do is for them to claim the education credit. But really, the law is designed so the parents would get the education credit. So this might have been something to that effect. The important thing is that, you know, maybe we get mom and dad together, the taxpayer together, the IRS letter, and straighten out the whole thing.
That education component, that'll be online, by the way, at WBBZ-TV in the article. Here's another viewer question. This is Oliver from North Tonawanda. Hi, I pay a lot of money for long-term care insurance policy. Is there any tax savings for this money that I pay each year?
Well, there is. I mean, first of all, it is an itemized deduction on the Schedule A. And long story short for Oliver is if you're under the age of 65, what's going to happen is it has to be greater than 10% of your income. You're only allowed a limited amount too on long-term care. But that's not the best thing that's out there for long-term care. Really, where the bread and butter for long-term care insurance is a 20% credit on the state of New York. It's non-refundable, which means it won't give you extra money back. It just eliminates your tax. But if you don't use it all, it gets to carry forward into future years.
So yeah, it's a double yes.
All right, here's Leah from Cheektowaga. I pay my daughter's student loan payment each year, so may I deduct her student loan interest? If yes, how much may I deduct each year?
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Well, it all depends if mom and dad are if she was personally liable for the debt. If she was signed as a co-signer, then yes, you can take the student loan interest off on your own return. But if you're just a nice mom and the loan's in your daughter's name and you're just paying to help her out, unfortunately, she can't claim it and you can't claim it.
And the maximum
is $2,500 a year.
And a caveat is if you make too much money, they won't allow you to take the credit adjustment even if you were entitled to it. So if you make too much money, they take it away and disallow it.
Another one. This is from Matt in Cheektowaga. I just sold my mom's house this fall. She put it in my name a few years ago. She has moved into a senior apartment complex. My question is, if I have a lot of taxes to pay, I sold it for $125,000. I had very little expenses since my neighbor bought it. Since I no longer live with my mom, can I reinvest the gain to buy another house?
Okay, so there was something in that last line that said, since I don't no longer live with my mom, which leads me to believe that that guy lived with his mom when they were in the house together. And if he lived in the house 2 out of the last 5 years, even though the house was in mom's name and she gifted it to him, he'll have the sale of personal residence, which would be up to $250,000, and he won't owe anything.
Be happy.
Happy.
Well, listen, I hope we can do this again, EG Tax Team, as we go through the tax season, because as you can see from our viewers, a lot of diverse questions and a lot of interesting answers, and how you can have those right at the top of your head is just great. So egtax.com, that's the website. Chris Fabian, Tiffany Fabian, Esther Glias, Steve Jacobson, thanks for joining us on Political Buzz. We'll sort through all of this. And don't forget to pay your taxes, April 15th. That's what it's all about, everybody. You got to do it. Thanks, audience, for joining us here in our WBBZ studio. We'll see you next time on your hometown television station.